there any team in the NFC that can challenge us? Is there anybody that can go up against the Eagles? Or is it going to be double moonwalk after double moonwalk after double moonwalk after double moonwalk when we play the Cowboys? It's a triple double moonwalk. Who's it going to be? Who's going to challenge the Eagles? Because let me tell you, I feel good about this team. I feel real good, especially after the offseason we had where we've just gone down the checklist in priorities, getting things done, which brings up an interesting question. What's next for the Eagles?
Kick the red, double move on the red.
Everybody doing? King Ding back here, and I hope everybody's having a great weekend, a wonderful day. You know, in this video, there are two things that are on my mind today, and two things I want to talk about. The first thing is, I want to know what's next for the Philadelphia Eagles. And the second thing is, I want to know who can challenge the Eagles in the NFC. Who are the biggest threats the Philadelphia Eagles are going to face this year? Now, when we look at this all season and we look at everything Howie Roseman did, I mean, it's been mind-boggling to me how awesome and how efficient they have been at filling out their holes, getting things done like the Carson Wentz signing, and I can't wait to see what's on the agenda next because I know they have a few more tricks up their sleeve. Now, you know, my favorite move of the offseason was definitely getting Deshaun Jackson. That was a big deal for me, not just because he's a former Eagle and it's surreal to see Deshaun Jackson back with the Eagles, but I thought that that deep threat was a huge priority that needed to be addressed, and he addressed it. And look, by all accounts, everything we're hearing from training camp, OTAs, and from the Eagles is Deshaun Jackson has been wonderful. He has been a great player to be with this team. He's worked well with Carson Wentz. They have a special bond that they're building, a special rapport on the field, and it's been great. And not only that, look at Deshaun Jackson, the community. I mean, Deshaun Jackson has been, last night they showed him passing out food to the homeless. I mean, so Deshaun Jackson has been making an impact on and off the field for the Eagles in a good and positive way, and I'm really excited to see him back on the field. It's going to be very fun. And like I've said, first play of the season against the Redskins, the Eagles come out. I want the play action, Carson back to pass, pump fake, bomb, Deshaun Jackson, 80-yard touchdown. I want it the first play of the game. First play of the season, that's what I want to see. But Deshaun Jackson was a great move. Jordan Howard was a great move. We can go through it, Zach Brown. We can go through all of those things, and you know, up until signing Carson Wentz to an extension, which by all accounts, this is turning out to be a more team-friendly deal. Every day, every minute that goes by, it seems like this was a better deal for the Eagles in the long run. Like I said yesterday in my video, somebody said in the CBA is coming up in a few years, that having Carson's contract done before that is a big deal because we'll even have extra room, you know, with the cap. So I just love what the Eagles have done this all season. Now, we did lose Joe Douglas to the Jets. It is what it is. But I still trust Howie and his front office to keep doing things, which brings me up to my point now. What is next for the Eagles? What are they going to do next? What's the next move? What's the next shoe to drop? Now, if it's me, and I had to guess, I think the very next move that has to be done for the Eagles is I think you have to take this Malcolm Jenkins situation and you have to make him happy. Now, I don't even know if he's going to hold out. I know there's a lot of speculation and all those kind of things, but mandatory minicamp is next week, and we're going to see if he shows up. I think Malcolm Jenkins, he should show up. Even if he wants a new contract, he should show up, because one thing I know about the Eagles is when you hold out and you draw your foot in the sand like that with them, they don't like it. They don't like it, and I think they're less apt to negotiate with you. But if you show good faith by showing up, I think they're more likely to get something done. It just seems like that's how it's worked in the past with other players. It doesn't seem like holding out for the Eagles is a good thing. So I hope he doesn't do that. I hope he shows up, and I hope the Eagles take care of him. And I think that's probably most likely the next shoe to drop with the Eagles. Malcolm Jenkins getting taken care of, getting signed. I don't know exactly what he wants. Some people have said he wants a new contract. Some people say he just wants guaranteed money. So we'll see. But I think that's got to be the next thing that you take care of. Now, whether you take care of that or not, there are some other things I expect to happen with the Eagles. First and foremost, I think the most likely newest addition the Eagles will add on this team will be a defensive end. Jim Schwartz at his press conference last week, he hinted around this. He said the Eagles are basically most likely going to bring in another defensive end. He kind of insinuated he expects that to happen. And with Chris Long gone, I think it would make a lot of sense if the Eagles brought in another defensive end. Now, I know the big name is Jadeveon Clowney. People would love to get him. I would love it. I don't think that's likely. I think it's very unlikely. Matter of fact, I think in Houston, when you look at what happened with the GM, I mean, he got fired, and it was a weird thing, too, going on over there. And I think that's why the Jets ran to make sure they gave Joe Douglas more, because I think they thought he would end up in Houston. But here's the thing. They fired their GM, and I think it has a lot to do with nothing getting done on the Jadeveon Clowney front. So I don't even know if they're going to trade him, but it would cost the Eagles a lot. I do expect another pass rusher to come to the Eagles. I don't think it's going to be a huge name. I think it's going to be somebody, maybe similar to Chris Long, maybe somebody who still has a few years left, that is a good at, being rotated in, doesn't have to take a lot of snaps. I could see an older, tight defensive end coming to the Eagles and filling in for Chris Long. I think they'll add another pass rusher. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what they think of Josh Sweat. I like Josh Sweat. I like what I saw of him in preseason, but can he take the next step? Can he fill in for Chris Long? Because you got to remember, Chris Long was very effective for us when he did rush. When he came in, especially on third downs, he made some huge plays for the Eagles. Can Josh Sweat be that guy? We're going to find out. The Eagles, they drafted Sharif Miller. We're going to see what he can do, He's a rookie, so we'll have to wait and see. But I do expect them to add another pass rusher. I think that out of all the moves they could make to bring somebody else in, I think that would be the most likely scenario. I would say first thing I expect to happen is this Malcolm Jenkins situation to be taken care of. Then the second thing is I expect them to bring in a defensive lineman, a defensive end. And they may trade for one, because I do think they're going to make a trade during a preseason. It's kind of what Howie Roseman does. I'm not expecting them to trade Nelson Aguilar or even Jalen Mills or anybody like that. I expect more like maybe the Eagles trade a 5th-round pick for an older defensive end that could be, that in that Chris Long spot. I don't think it's going to be a big move, is what I'm saying. I think it'll be a necessary move, but not a big move. And the only way you'll get a big move is somebody gets hurt or something's going on in preseason or training camp that they need to fix. I also wouldn't mind seeing them bring in another interior lineman. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I would say the next move I expect is the Malcolm Jenkins situation to be taken care of. Second thing after that, I expect is the Eagles to bring in a pass rusher, another defensive end. And we'll see what else they're going to do. I mean, there's possibilities. They could, maybe they want to extend Nelson Aguilar. Maybe they want to extend Jordan Howard. They brought in Alshon Jeffrey, remember, on a 1-year deal. They extended him during the year. So it's going to be interesting to see what's next for the Eagles. I'm very, very curious. They've really just taken care of problems, and anything that they've had a hole with, they've pretty much crossed off and just taken care of. So it's going to be interesting to see what's next. But my money is on Malcolm Jenkins' situation being taken care of. Now, the season's coming. Things are getting closer and closer. We're all amped up for football. We're all ready. I know a lot of you guys are starting summer this weekend. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're having a good time, but I'm ready for football. I'm ready for football. And one of the things I like to do, especially around July when things get real slow, I like to start, that's when I like to start doing my predictions, for the AFC, for the NFC. I like to start looking at the other divisions and coming up with who I think is going to win each division and whatnot and stuff like that. So I'm starting to think about what teams in the NFC I think are real threats to the Eagles. And I've been thinking about this, and I'm curious your guys' opinion. One thing about me is I try to answer every single comment that you guys put out there. So I'm asking you guys, I want to know, who are your top 5 threats for the Eagles in the NFC conference? Who do you think the Eagles have to be worried about, have to be concerned about? Because me, when I look at it, and, I would say I'm not exactly ready to give you my exact list and say this is it for sure. But off the top of my head, if I had to do it, I would say the biggest threats to the Eagles' top 5 would be, and this can change, I'm thinking about this. they get hard. Very hard for me to think I'm a dingbat. It's very hard. My brain works very slow. Yes, we know. Okay, so I think the number one biggest threat to the Eagles, I'm gonna say the New Orleans Saints. I'm gonna say the New Orleans Saints still. They seem like they always beat us when we play in New Orleans. I think that they're going to be a playoff team. Now Drew Brees is older. Does he have more years left? Does he have anything left? He probably does, and I think that New Orleans is going to be one of the top teams in the NFC. I'm going to say New Orleans number one, and we don't play them during the season, so if we play them, we're playing them in the playoffs. And if we play them in the playoffs, you got to remember, we want them at home. We don't want to go to New Orleans. Going to New Orleans has always been a tough place to play, especially for us. So I would say New Orleans number one. I'm going to say the Chicago Bears number two. And the reason I like the Bears is I like their defense. I think the defense is very good. I think they're going to be very good this year. And look, the Bears played us really tough. I mean, for all intents and purposes, Mitch Trubisky, he went down the field and he put them in a position to beat us. So I think the Bears will be tough. We do have them this year. We play them at home, so that's a good thing. So I'll put the Bears out. I'll put New Orleans 1, Bears 2. I'm going to put Dallas Cowboys 3. And I'm going to put them 3 because I think they're a playoff team. I think that they'll be in it. And they're in our division and we play them twice. So the importance of seeing them twice and beating them is very important. I'm going to say Dallas is 3rd. Then 4th, I'm going to say the Los Angeles Rams. I don't think they're as good as they were a year ago. I think they lost some guys. But I still think that, look, they're the NFC champions. Got to give them the respect. And I still think that they're top 5 NFC team. I'll put them 4. Now, of course, I'm not putting us on this list because we don't play ourselves. But if we did have a list of just top 5 NFC teams, I think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC going into the season. But this is a list of who's our threats. So number 4, I would have the Rams. And number 5 is interesting because I think number 5, I see several different teams kind of in that area. And I'm going to maybe go outside the box here. I'm going to say the Atlanta Falcons are number 5 because the Atlanta Falcons are a very talented team and they have a lot of guys that were back. They were decimated with injury also last year, and they're going to get guys back this year. So I expect the Atlanta Falcons to have a bounce back year. And it seems like to me, does it seem like to anybody else, does it seem like the Atlanta Falcons is like every other year they're good? They're good every other year, so this would be a good year because last year they weren't that good? It just always seems like that to me. But I think I'm going to put Atlanta 5. Now, some honorable mentions would be Minnesota. I don't know. Green Bay, I'm kind of unsure what to think of them. I know that they addressed some of their defensive positions. I thought they would go after more skilled positions. I like Aaron Rodgers, but they got a new coach. Who knows what's going on with them? So, in my list, the list of dingbats, double moonwalk my ass. But I would say New Orleans 1, Chicago 2, Dallas 3. Number 4, I'll put the Rams, and number 5, the Atlanta Falcons. Though that is my list of the biggest threats for the NFC. Now, we're going to be more specific once we get into July because, like I said, July, everything gets slow. Things are starting to get slow now. We're going to have mandatory mini camps. Once those kind of are over and they take a break before training camp, it gets slow. So we'll do more of these. We'll even do some fantasy stuff too, but I want to do predictions for each division and all that because it's fun. It's fun, and I want you guys to tell me what you think. It's going to be interesting. Now, I'm going to try to have a video out pretty much all week, except for maybe Thursday or Friday, because I'll be traveling to Las Vegas. I'll be doing some videos from Vegas, and it'll be fun in itself. With that said, I'm going to let you guys go. Put it in your comment section. Put it in your comment section what you think. Who you think the top 5 threats to the Eagles are in the NFC. And also, don't forget, tell me what you think the Eagles' next move is. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.